Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Castle Rock Season 1, Episode 6. It is called Filter. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, I want to go back to something we talked about way back in Episode 1,
Okay.
because I feel like it's more relevant now. Remember the end of Episode 1, when Henry went out to the woods, and there was that moment where sort of young Henry was kind of, it was almost like he was in the same scene.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that feels much more relevant and important to
Mm.
what's going on, given some of the concepts that are brought up in this episode, and even the idea in this episode that Ruth is kind of like, because we've been kind of looking at her as if, okay, so her memories are getting fuzzy, and she's like thinking she's like years ago, and she's whatever, but the way she describes it when she's asked is that she's actually like finding herself in different times, and the chess pieces that she's using are almost like a guide, so that if she finds that, she knows she's in the present and she's in the right time.
Yeah, it's interesting because it still leaves it open that she's not always, sometimes she's going a bit crazy because
Mm-hmm.
last episode we saw her at the back door, as if it was 30 years ago. You're calling out, so telling her husband to come in,
Yeah.
and obviously then Alan walks in and sees her. So, still in doubt as to how real it is that she's referring to.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. It's still very open ended with her, but I think her talking about that, given the other stuff that we get to with Henry and these mysterious new characters, Willie and Odin, if I'm just looking at their names right, uh, or the Culkin as I was calling them in my head as he appeared, these mysterious two guys in a Winnebago who show up, and later on, so the kid finds some old tapes, some old VHS recordings that Henry's dad made when they took him into the woods, and it sounds kind of weird that they're looking for something. Like, it's not just they're out there for a trip; they're out there to fish and whatever. Like, as Ruth,
Yeah.
when she's asked, she's like, "Oh, you went fishing and camping and maybe some duck hunting when the season was in." But it sounds a bit more specific. Like, no, they're out there trying to accomplish something specific, and
Yeah.
Henry ends up going out with the camcorder, and he's sort of looking at it, and the battery dies, and I'm glad it died, because I was sort of thinking to myself, like, that camcorder's been sitting there for 30 years. There's no way that battery's keeping that much of a charge anymore. So I'm glad it died pretty quick.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
he should have predicted this outcome, though. He was caught
You'd
off
think.
guard, and I feel like this was a very likely outcome. And then he got lost in the woods, and I started laughing. I'm like, "Are you lost in the same woods as an adult you did as a kid?" This is really funny to me. Um,
Big woods.
it's his fault. I mean, don't get me wrong, not that I can find my way around the woods. I mean, I'm useless. I mean, he's trying to use his sat nav, but his phone's dying. I'm like, you should have charged your phone at least. Your phone's not.
Also, I can speak from experience. They do not work well in woods.
That doesn't surprise me. They're obviously very tailored to streets.
They're,
But
they're great for streets and your roads. As soon as you go into a field or the woods, they just don't know what they're doing.
that's a shame, because I feel like that's when you want it the most. When you're in your Blair Witch Project style situation and you want to
Yeah.
find your way back to civilization,
Yeah,
that's when
yeah.
you want the sat nav to
They're,
work.
they're just they're accurate to within X amount, but
Hmm.
in a woods, that's not accurate enough. You might get a general direction,
Well, good. I mean,
but
at least if it can tell you this way is north or whatever, you can.
yeah, but you know what else can do that?
This
It's
guy,
a,
yes.
a compass.
Or the compass. Yeah, but who's walking around with a compass in
I feel like
2018?
if you're going into the woods intentionally, maybe take a compass.
I don't buy that Henry's got a compass on him, and I'm okay with that. This is a spur of the moment. He needs to go and check something in the woods, and he's probably not got a compass lying around. I feel like most people don't have a compass just lying around in their house to
But
grab.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna go into the woods, maybe take a compass. Don't be a dick. Be prepared.
I bet most times you've been in the woods, you've not had a compass.
That is actually untrue.
Were you in like, the Boy Scouts or something like
I
that?
was, yes.
Well then, shut up. That's different. That's you're tailor made for that. Most of us, most times we're in the woods, we don't have a compass. We just don't go far enough that we can't find our way back, and that's
That's
how we survive.
boring.
I mean, sure, whatever. I'm just saying, most people don't have compasses lying around. I mean, I had a compass to draw circles with. I had that type of compass.
It's a pretty shit compass, though, unless you want to stab something.
So it's a handy. I did technical drawings and stuff in school, so I needed a compass.
Okay.
It was
I
essential
think they're,
usage.
they're one of those things that come in all the stationery sets, the back to school
Mm.
stationery sets you get that I think I maybe used like twice in my entire school life.
Oh, you always got a set square as well, which I never used until I started doing technical drawings in high school, and it was like, oh, this is what a set square's for. Okay, now I understand what this purpose is. Nice.
Yeah, I don't think I ever used it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I did quite a lot of that in high school. That was something I did quite up until the later years. But um, anyway, so he goes out looking, and he's trying to like find like where he's trying to follow the footsteps of the footage and find where him and his dad went and what was going on out there. Because it's like, what was he doing? I don't remember any of this. And of course, he had that conversation with Molly where she confesses everything. Although what's interesting is she doesn't just like out. I mean, obviously she says, "Okay, I felt that you hated him, that you wanted him dead." She didn't just say, "I went and killed him for you." This was different. She very specifically said, "It was like we were connected, and you did it through me."
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe her. Like, I don't know how much
Hmm.
she's just trying to absolve herself of guilt so she can cope with it.
That's fair.
Uh,
I feel like I'm inclined to think she's onto something, not because of any character analysis, just because it's that type of show where it probably is something like that.
No, no, that's fair. I
Yeah.
think for me, it's more interesting if she believes that, and just she picked up on it that strongly, and we know she had a bit of a
Mm.
crush on him as well, and she thought she was really helping him out, and just but couldn't really cope with what she was doing, so kind of lent into that as a story to help herself.
I'm wondering if like he did connect to her, right? He's got some sort of power as well, and it kind of bonded with her. And I'm wondering if, much like she thought it was a dream all these years, and she wasn't sure if she'd actually done that. I wonder if, like, again, it's not like he specifically wanted to kill him in, like, of a conscious mind. It was more of a subconscious connection that kind of
Mm.
carried this out. I don't think either one of them are actually just straight up like they wanted to be murderers. They didn't like consciously think about it and go, "I want to kill someone."
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fair.
I feel like that's where we'll get to with that. But he's out in the woods and he gets lost and it ends up in nighttime. And these two guys with a Winnebago. Odin's the older guy. He's deaf and he's using sign language. And the Culkin is doing his translating for him. His interpreter, and he knows his dad, or he knew his dad rather, Henry's dad. And he's like, "Oh, he used to come out here. This was his church, and he believed he could hear God." And obviously, we've had this tinnitus stuff, this ringing in the ear with Henry. And he's like, "Oh, some people think it's just a ringing in the ear. Have you ever had anything like that?" No,
Yeah.
probably suspecting full well that he has.
Yeah, and he mentions, oh, it's louder in certain places.
Yeah, certain places, some people never hear it, some people always hear it, kind of that. But then he gets to the interesting stuff. He gets to the interesting stuff where he's like, what he actually thinks it is, because he doesn't necessarily believe that it's God himself. He's more of a scientist, and this is actually where it was starting to really feel like lost to me. Where you've got these mysteries that some people are interpreting as mythological, but it's really more of a scientific occurrence of some kind, like. And because in this case, he's talking about frequencies. In fact, he even says he's got 2 degrees, like one in.
Bioacoustics and something else acoustics. They were both. I remember them being acoustics
Yeah.
because he's deaf.
Yes, which are obviously notable. So how did you study that when you can't hear
Yeah.
anything? Well, I mean, you can study the theory of it, of course, but like still, feels
But
like,
I know, but
feels like a
that's why I
hindrance.
remembered it because I thought, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was bio, and I think the other one was
Psycho.
psycho. There you
Psychoacoustics.
go.
There
Yeah.
you go.
So it's okay. That's interesting. But he thinks it's what was he kept calling it?
Oh, I can't remember the word. It began with an S, didn't it?
Uh, oh God. But anyway, so he describes it as he thinks it's different, like because he has a really long, complicated explanation. He thinks it's this platonic biosphere, blah blah blah. And Henry, quite like us, the audience, are like, "What the hell did he just say? What's happening?"
Mm.
And then he's like, "Oh no!" What he's basically saying is that all possible pasts and all possible nows and it actually didn't say futures. I noted that actually that he didn't say futures. He just said possible pasts and nows. So the future might be off limits here in terms of this, but it's them trying to reconcile. The noise is basically all of that kind of colliding, and and some people can hear it, and that's what you're hearing. But you have to you have to drown out the other noise, get rid of the other noise, and just listen to it. And
Yeah.
that's why you're only hearing a ringing.
Yeah. Was it schism? Was that the word?
Schisma, because there was an extra vowel at the end.
That's it. Yeah, I knew it was something like that.
There was an extra vowel at the end. It was schisma, which makes sense because schism. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, that's why it's come to mind.
So, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. This opens a lot of doors. Like, especially going back to that first episode, that scene we're talking about, where it felt like old and young Henry were there at the same time. Was that the schisma?
Yeah.
What was that?
It feels
overlap?
more likely now that it wasn't just a filmmaking trick, because that was one
Yeah.
of, we posited that it could be that.
Yeah.
We might have been reading into it too much, but now I don't think we were. I think
Yeah, now it
something
feels
was going on.
plausible. And
Yeah.
it makes me wonder if, like, Molly killing his father, was that actually this past, or was that another world's past?
Yeah. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
he talks about possible past and possible presents. It makes me, I don't know if it's necessarily alternate realities per se, or is it this is a past that could have happened and she's remembering it, but that's not actually what happened in this world, or something
Okay.
to that
Oh,
effect.
maybe. The real question is, what's it trying to reconcile?
Hmm.
If that's the moment that we're seeing them collide, what's it trying to fix?
Well, I feel like that entire time he was missing for those, what was it, 11 days or whatever. I feel like that
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
time is the hot zone. That's the
Yeah, but what specifically that has caused this is what I'm interested in.
I don't know. I don't know. I never even read it as a specific cause. I mean, there might be, and that's actually interesting. Is what is that? Is it just the kid? Like, was it him coming to this world in some way? Was that what that does? I was kind of reading it as there's always like things it's trying to reconcile. Like, there's always something.
Okay.
Like it's always doing that. But maybe you're right. Maybe it's just this is a specific instance that's been caused this, and it's rippled throughout all these past few decades.
Yeah.
That said, it sounds like the kid was already around for a while because of all the stuff that happened in the 80s before he got locked up.
That's true. Do you know what, that reminded me? I forgot to mention it last episode. You were going, about 3 decades.
Yeah.
It was 27 years, which is, of course, the magic number for it.
Oh, it's, quite right. There you go.
Yeah. So, I don't know if that's just, again, meant to be like a nice little Easter egg or just... Oh, no, that's an intentional loop.
I think it's probably an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Feels like an Easter egg to me. That feels. I mean, going back to Lost, that feels like the numbers. Like, they'll just throw them out there everywhere, just for the little wink, wink.
That's fair. Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm expecting a Lost Easter egg at some point, I'm expecting those numbers to appear. It'll be like someone's security code or something like that. It'll be like 48, 15, 16, 23, 42. Remembered them, nailed it. All right. So. Then they take him to the Winnebago, and they've got like a soundproof room, heavily soundproofed. It almost looks like a torture chamber, and it's not because it's foam, it's sound foam. But if you look at it at a distance, it almost looks like spikes. It almost looks like this is just a spiky room you're going to get tortured in. And in a way, it is a torture room because they actually shove him in. Well, they don't shove him in. He's sort of reluctant. He walks in, and then he gets the door shut on him. And we find out, of course, that Odin made himself deaf. Like, he actually wanted to hear better. He wanted to hear the schisma better. But he goes in, and we don't get a lot of it in this episode, of course. We just get a couple of quick things where he's in pain, he's listening to this, and we see like some moments of his dad in the woods coming back to him, and it's like he's hearing the schisma, revealing these truths, as Odin put it. But no,
the question is, how reliable are these truths, right? If they are possible pasts. I mean, maybe they're not actually what happened. Maybe it's a bit misleading.
That's true. I mean, Odin does say, like, what you're hearing now is rumor, and what you'll hear in there is truth or fact or whatever. I wonder if that's something that can be shaken up. It's like, well, no. This could have been a possible past. But
yeah, just because he says that, it doesn't mean that we should believe it, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, that's it. I feel like there will be truth in it. It's just a case of, like, even if it's not the past that happened, it'll probably still be useful or relevant in figuring out stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think it'll have no purpose, no meaning.
Yeah.
Just maybe it's not exactly what happened the way, we're maybe expected to believe.
I feel like it's more likely to be the real thing here, and the Molly flashback of killing his dad is more likely to be the trick. I mean, they could both be a trick. They could both be, false pasts.
Yeah.
So, and that'll be probably a nice moment for Molly if she like finds out later that this didn't actually happen. She didn't actually go into a room and kill a man.
Yeah.
That'll be helpful. And she's still seeing visions of him, by the way, with the bandages all over his face.
It's pretty creepy still.
Proper creepy. Just one little moment. Only one little scene of Jane Levi. She's just kind of outside the building before he
Definitely
sees
not enough.
Definitely not enough. What's funny actually, she's listed on IMDb as credit only. I'm like, no, she was there. She was in the episode.
She was
the
briefly,
short scene, but she was there. So no, that was for me the most interesting stuff of the episode was all the schisma stuff at the end, because it was like, oh, okay, we're opening a lot of sci-fi doors now to this sort of like, not necessarily time travel, but like echoes in time, and I like that idea. It's this kind of wacky, like again, go back to Lost, going back to like some of the kind of like mystery sci-fi that I like. It's almost like some nut job in a house somewhere is built like a wacky device that might pick up signals from somewhere else. Like it's that kind of weird sci-fi that I really get into in terms of the mystery of it, and so I was kind of digging that. Meanwhile, in this episode, the kid, because obviously the last time we ended with the cliffhanger of the kid was at gunpoint with Pangborn. It seems that Pangborn is believing that he can help Ruth. And he's like, oh, so what do we need? And he's like, oh, we'll get the Lincoln, the car that Lacey was in. And he goes on this wild goose chase to get the car. And he ends up holding someone else. This is a running theme here, actually. Pangborn likes to hold people up at gunpoint.
Yeah, he tries to offer him money. He's like, well, $200. The guy's like, nope. And 500? Still no? All right, well, gun it is then.
I like that he probably he capped out there though. Like if he could afford 1,000, he may have tried 1,000.
It might have, but maybe okay, if he's not taking 500 for something that he's scrapping, right?
Yeah.
Then he's not going to take anything.
Yeah. He's a man of principle, apparently.
Yeah.
But he gets the car. He comes back, and there's all that stuff with the kid kind of wandering around, listening to records. Obviously, finds the videotapes, and he eventually. He comes back at the end, Pangborn, and he's just sitting out in the house. Because there's one like scene when he comes in the house and Ruth's there, and Ruth like sees him kind of in close proximity for the first time. I think at least this episode. And Pangborn comes up at the end, and the kid's sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, you got the car? That'll be a monument to Warden Lacey." And he's like, "What the hell you say, boy? You said you were going to help Ruth. Why'd you say that?"
He's like, well, you shouldn't have locked me up in that car, or left me in the car.
Yeah, and then he notices he's got blood on his hands, and he gets worried about Ruth, and naturally we get worried about Ruth, and he runs in the house, and the cooker's on, overheating, there's like stuff all over the floor, there's blood around. We don't get to see her. This is kind of the cliffhanger of the episode. We just cut back to the kid just kind of staring into nothing as he does.
Yeah.
But did he harm Ruth? Did he kill Ruth?
Who knows?
Well, we'll know next week. We'll find out.
But I don't know. It feels like an obvious misdirect, especially if you end your episode on it.
It does. It does feel like a misdirect. But at the same time, I guess my argument to why it could have happened, is that maybe like Sissy Spacek. Obviously, I mean she's not a huge name in the sense that I don't think she's hard to get, but she's kind of a big notable kind of like, oh, she's like a king actress who came back from Carrie. Like,
yeah.
I could see them killing her off like halfway through.
I think. The thing for me though is if they were gonna kill her here, usually rules of TV for cliffhangers. You show the body here, right?
Yeah,
you end on that and then leave the impact of that. You leave on the mystery. They're probably not dead.
Yeah, I guess that kind of harms this cliffhanger a little bit in the sense that we're just kind of like, okay, I guess she's probably alive, but at the same time it's murky enough where I'm not convinced. So instead of just feeling like the shock of her possibly being dead, I'm just kind of like, oh, we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. I'm not
not
super
invested
worried
enough to care.
Yeah. But
I did like the scene though where she sees him out the window and is like, "Oh no, that's the suit we buried him in." Referring to her husband.
Or was she? Was this a glimpse of the future?
Yeah.
We buried him in that suit. I'm just
I think,
joking.
Does she not say she says your father, right?
Yeah, she does. She does. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Just checking because. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the thing with the chess pieces. Of course, she's saying that to Henry's son, who we've not mentioned yet. There's another little subplot in this episode is that Henry's son comes to visit. Wendell, his name is. He's on the video games on his phone. He's playing his Pokemon Go knock off. Knock off. I'll say that properly. I don't know why I was.
Yeah, I think that led to some of the most cringe-inducing dialogue of the episode from Henry. Talking about him on his video games. I'm like, people don't speak like this.
Yeah, this time of like the kids with the video games, that we've kind of been over that for a while.
Piss off! I'm almost at level 4. I'm like, no one really does that.
Yeah,
especially not a mobile game. You just put it down.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It kind of feels like, again, it's a writer who maybe doesn't play games or whatever, writing dialogue about games.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. It stuck out to me.
yeah. No, that's fair. Some interesting little tidbits though. I liked him being curious about how he was adopted and asking about his real parents. And of course, I mean, I saw it coming. He was going to say, no, they are my real parents. Like they raised me. And you know, it's a reasonable enough moment. I mean, it was probably the dullest stuff of the episode, just because, just by its nature, it wasn't the exciting stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
um,
And the problem as well is it's hard to have an attachment to a character that, you know, we're like halfway through the season now and only just introducing this.
yeah, I think it's not so much that we're supposed to care about Wendell specifically. I think it's more about the weird relationship that Henry has with him. Because as later on, as Odin and Culkin point out, I know his name's Willie. I'm just calling him Culkin because he's a Culkin. But he says, oh, like they actually bring up his son. He's like, oh, you have a bad relationship because you know he doesn't know who his father is because you don't really know who you are. He's not found himself. It made me think of Unbreakable a little bit. You know how like in Unbreakable, Bruce Willis is like, you're not comfortable with who you are because you're supposed to be this hero, and deep down you don't really know that, but deep down it's there. There's this nagging feeling that you're not who you're meant to be.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder: is Henry from a different past? Did Henry cross over? Is this not? Is this a different Henry than the one that left?
Oh, that's
In the woods?
interesting. Yeah. So in those 11 days, we got a replacement.
Yeah, we got a Henry from a different universe or something. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's possible.
Is that why he can't really remember anything from that time? Because he didn't go in the woods and do all this stuff. He just kind of showed up at the
Yeah,
end
he
of
he
it.
never really experienced it. Interesting.
I know. Just thoughts. Just thoughts. But I think that's kind of the point, is to kind of like, 'cause I think it kind of ties in again to the idea of him being adopted. Like thematically, it might work with that a little bit.
Yeah.
I know.
I do think as well probably the most interesting thing from the kid was he asked Henry, why did they adopt you?
The kid or Wendell. This is important.
Wendell, I forgot
Yeah.
the name, honestly. And usually that wouldn't matter, but you know, I forgot that the other character was just the kid as well.
Yes. We have a character on this called the kid, so we can't just be
We
calling
do,
Wendell
you're
that.
right. Yeah. No, he asked Henry, you know, why did they adopt you? And he just kind of goes, oh well, you know, they tried to have their own, they couldn't. You know, they had some complications. I can't help but feel he's getting on the core of a question that we should be asking, right? You know, why did they, maybe there's more to it, especially if the father was, you know, searching for something in particular. Why did he adopt Henry? Was there something in particular about him?
Oh, did he specifically pick Henry because he suspected he may have an ability or he may have something?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I can see it. I can see it.
I don't know. I might be reaching, but yeah, just him asking it made me question it too.
No, I can see it. But hey, so interesting episode for sure.
Oh, definitely.
The Schisma stuff in particular really piqued my interest. It was kind of the pulpy sci-fi mystery stuff I can kind of get into. So
yeah,
I'm down with it. So fun stuff. But hey, so that's Castle Rock episode 6. We'll be back next week, episode 7. Hopefully earlier in the week. We're a little bit late with this one due to some scheduling issues, but hopefully we'll be back to regular time next week. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. Even for $1 a month you can support us and feel warm and fuzzy on the inside and get some bonuses out of it as well, of course. And if you can't do that, don't feel too bad. You know, you can turn off your ad block, let the ads play on YouTube. That does help too, if you can't be a patron. But thank you very much. Whatever way you do support us, even watching is support. But thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?